Hello, so I'm going to just show you how I took I think I took about like 20 photos and converted them into a 3D model that you can use on this free site Sketchfab. Students might enjoy, posting like 3D models of their face or something. And I might briefly walk you through how you can also import it into this other free program called Blender. Um, and this program is good for 3D printing because you can export these objects as .stl files, and I think that's what 3D printers use. So basically, I used an iPhone 4, which doesn't have that great of a camera, and let me just show you. Basically, you want to walk around. I walked around the object, fully around it, 360 degrees, and basically every 45 degrees I would stop and take a picture from a high angle and kind of a mid angle and a lower angle. So I'm moving around 45 degrees and just taking like 3 pictures. And I would end up going back around it again, trying to get some really lower angle pictures, because if you don't have pictures down low, then these areas won't be in the model. They'll just be like holes. But you also want to try to stay a similar distance away, and you also want to keep the exposure on the camera similar. You don't want too bright and too dark photos, and that's kind of hard with an iPhone because it automatically exposes usually. So anyways, you take those photos and then you have to create an account on this Autodesk website. So the link, if you go recap360.autodesk.com, it'll bring you here, and you sign up right here and create an account. You verify your email. So I've already done that. And I already uploaded this model and it worked fine, but right now it's saying something like visualization. Anyways, we'll deal with that later. So basically you have your photos, you click Photo to 3D, and it's going to bring you Create 3D Model from Photos. You just select all these photos and you drag them here, and we go to the settings, give it a title, and you can turn this smart cropping on. Basically it's just going to cut out any any parts of the object that aren't really attached to the hydrant, that might be from the building beside it, or so it makes your model smaller. And then you hit create. And the uploading, if your internet is slow, uploading can take anywhere from 10 minutes to an hour. You can only use 50 photos, and you don't want to close this page or hit reload. Yeah. So anyways, when that's done, you'll have like an object. Let's look at this. And if you click the object, the internet is probably going to go a little slower because I'm uploading, maybe. You'll click Open 3D Model, and then it's just kind of fun. You can, yeah, I took 45 photos for this. So just a reminder, you can only take 50 photos for this free version. They want you to pay, and then you can like submit up to like 1,000 photos. But the free version, like 50 is usually enough. And so this is a bigger object. As you can see, there's like a hole on the top of their head, because like I was down here, I couldn't get very high. But and the rotation is off, but that's pretty cool. So anyways, you can look at it on this recap, but if you actually want to like share it with people, I think there's a share button. But what I like to do is hit downloads and download an OBJ file, and it's going to come out as a it's going to download a zip. And what's really cool is if you just leave that zip file intact, don't what is it, unzip it, I guess. If your students have a Sketchfab account, which is free, so sketchfab.com, they can click upload, and then they just drag that zip file and just hit continue. It's saying all the things that are in the zip file, and then it uploads it. So anyways, I'm going to cancel that. I already uploaded it. And then if you hit, so I mentioned the rotation was off, so it's going to behave kind of strangely when you click and move the mouse. But if you go to 3D settings, you can do some cool stuff with Sketchfab. I'm going to try to cancel this to, I'll just close it. Okay. So here's our 3D model. What we want to do is we want to rotate it. Let's just show advanced rotation. And here's the plane we want it on, so let's rotate it on the Y until it's properly oriented. Okay, so now your model will, you click with left click, orbits, and right click drags it. But one other setting, if you go to post-processing filters, I think this is cool. If you turn on depth of field, then if somebody zooms close into the object, wherever you click, you can set the focus, and it, I think it gives kind of like a, sorry the computer's going slow, it should go faster on yours. But yeah, if you like click here, then this is in focus if there was something interesting there. And then you hit save settings, exit. You can also turn on vignette. You can look at those other filters. They can give it a kind of an interesting look. Faces are somewhat challenging to do, I've found, for some reason, because people don't hold as still as like objects, so they should probably practice with a stationary object. But yeah, so this is Sketchfab. So that's pretty fun. You also can view it in VR if you're using like an iPhone, and if you have like Google Cardboard or some type of VR viewer, so that's kind of fun too. Let's close that. So in Blender, Blender is a free software. Just go to blender.org, I think, to download it. So when you first open Blender, it'll look like this, and if you click around, like you won't be able to select anything. So you want to change the preferences, user preferences, go to I believe input, and you want to select with the left click. I think by default it's here, but select with left click. Save user settings, and I'm going to turn on my screencast keys. So any key I push, you can see what I'm pushing. So the middle mouse wheel, if you click down on it, you can kind of orbit, scroll in, scroll out. Left click selects objects. This is the light. If you push G, you can grab it and move it. Left click confirms the movement. If you do right click, it'll cancel the movement. So anyways, you go, you want to unzip that file, and then you'll get a folder that looks like this, Hydrant, and it comes with a mesh, which is what we want to import, .obj. So I'm going to delete this cube. I selected it and I hit X, and then I'm going to confirm I want to delete it. I'm going to recenter my cursor, Shift S, cursor to center. You can also type in like center and then snap cursor to center. So if you hit space bar, you can type stuff in if you don't know the shortcut key. So import obj hydrant, and I want to import the mesh. So I'm not an expert on 3D printing and not from Blender, but I know people do it from Blender, so you should just search that. But a few things I think could be an issue. So first, if you want to set the rotation, hit R and constrain it to like this red axis, which is the X, and just type in 90, or you could type in -90, or if you wanted to go the other way. I'm just grabbing it on the Z axis, grabbing it on the X, grabbing it on the Y. Scale it down. You can do S to scale it. So a couple things. I know if you're going to 3D print it, when you're scaling it in this what's called object mode, what's happening in our properties view is so like the scale now is 0.266. If I scale it up, it's now 0.4, 0.6, 0.7. You want to make that scale 1, so you have to hit Control A and apply the scale. So if like you wanted your model really skinny, I think your printer will cancel that 0.5 out. Yes. So anyways, you want your scale to be 1, and the way you do that is once you scale it, you do Control A and you apply the scale. Another way to scale it and leave that 1 is if you enter edit mode. This is where you can like cut out vertices. When you scale in edit mode, the like I scaled it up and go to object mode. The scale stays 1. If you want to delete some garbage, like I don't need that stuff, I'll go back into edit mode. You can also just hit tab, and I'm going to go into wireframe mode, which is right here, or you can hit Z. I'm going to deselect everything with A, and I'm going to do my box select with B, and I'll do that, and I'm going to go back into box select and do that, and then to delete, hit X, and I'm going to delete vertices. And then if you go back into object mode and go back into solid mode, so here's your hydrant. Although I think I scaled it, it looks a little odd to me. Whatever. If you want to see the texture, you need to make sure by default you should be in Blender render, which is good. And then if you go to texture, you'll see it might look a little strange because it's doing a preview of what this light might be. So if you like move the light around, but you can also select it, and in your properties window by hitting in, if you go to shading, click shadeless, and that only appears if you're in the texture mode. But the last thing I can think is you'll have to, I think you would have to find a way to like make this mesh solid, because right now it's like totally thin, there's a hole, and I'm guessing if you read up on it, they'll say something like you have to enter edit mode, and I'm going to hit edge select, and if I hold Alt, it's going to select some, it selects as much as it can. I'm going to hold Shift and click Alt, and hold Shift and click Alt. I'm just trying to select all the way around the perimeter. Maybe if you do Shift G and do direction, because I'm selecting similar. No. Yeah, it's kind of a pain. Just holding Shift and Alt. But I think we're almost there. These meshes from photo scans are usually like really dense and not the easiest to work with because they're not very clean. But I have this edge selected, right? And if I hit E to extrude it, I'm going to hit Z to construct.